Welcome, Taurus, to 2022. This is your year. You are of all of the 12 zodiacal signs, Taurus rising especially, but also Sun and Moon will have some of this impact, going to have a 2022 that you'll look back on and say, wow, did my life change in that year? That's primarily because you're having eclipses from the Taurus-Scorpio axis hitting your Taurian self. You and the Scorpios have big time change. Oh my gosh. The good news is this change is coming through North Node eclipses, which expand your sense of identity. And I want to say I'm excited to see that you guys are also having some really incredibly juicy action in your sky in 2022, courtesy of Mars as well. So I want you to start thinking about your life in terms of forward momentum, new directions in 22, a greater expanded sense of self and identity, and connections to primary others, love relationships and business partnerships dramatically changing. So keep this in mind. You're growing in both your relation to others, and maybe if you're single, you'll be married. If you're separated or divorced, you might be dating someone new. There's big changes in that area over the next year. And this will go some of this into 2023 as well, but it's kicking off in 2022. So for the first part of this reading, I'm going to be talking a lot about the energy of the eclipses, and I'll dabble in Mars. Now, there's a lot of other cool action. Venus, your ruler of your chart, is doing a rare thing in the sky that she hasn't done since 2013, and it's going to be impacting you for the first 2.5 months of 22. Jupiter's giving you some incredibly juicy blessings and loving you totally up when it comes to things to do with your great gains from your career and your social influence and just plain old luck, including pennies from heaven. If you want to know the whole thing about 2022, not just the teaser of the 20 to 30 minutes here, you can get the rest of the reading, which will be an extra half hour to 45 minutes, because my readings are 60 minutes to 75 minutes for each of the signs. Go check the description box below where you can buy a la carte your Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or buy the bundle for all signs, and you can share it with your friends and family, but also you'll get to look at both your Sun, your Moon, and your Rising sign by buying the bundle videos. And when you buy them, you'll be given a link to my unlisted videos on YouTube where you can watch them and get a lot out of it. Okay, so let's get going. I'm pouring myself some tea here. It's a cold, rainy November 25th that I'm recording this for you guys. I was hoping to get these all done by Thanksgiving for the Americans, but I'll see if I get it done or not. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to talk about the eclipses first, okay, and have a sip of this, oh my gosh, green tea. I know that you Tauruses love your pleasures. So, earthy you, Venus ruled. So yeah, reminder, Venus is your #1 planet. She's the ruler of Taurus. And although she is doing some really cool action, like spectacular action next year in both Capricorn for the first 2.5 months kind of thing, and also in April when she's doing some incredibly rare action with Jupiter and Neptune in your house of luck and great gains financially. Those things are definitely something I won't have time to talk about here. So please think about buying the All Signs video. I think the eclipses are the #1 lead story for you. Only once every 19 years or so will these eclipses do what they're doing for you in 2022. So if you want to go back to May of 2005, 2003, and all of the calendar year 2004 into a little bit of spring of 2005, that's the last time you had a North Node eclipse cycle moving through your first house of identity or intersecting with your Sun or your Moon. So rising sign, Sun and Moon. And then therefore, that was a very intense time in your life, if you can go back, of change. Keyword, eclipses bring change. My daughter is a Taurus Sun, and during that time, we picked her up and moved her out of the United States into Canada. You can't make that up, right? And her son's in the house of foreign lands. So she was born in the US of A, but she is now back in her homeland of Canada, where I am from. So if you want to look that Taurus back to what might have happened to you to do with keyword change, it's not always what my daughter had, but for some of you, because your rising sign is angular to the house of home, some of you will experience as a Taurus major relocation energy in 22 into 2023. But I would say that it's bigger than just where you move to. It's if you move or you change your career path or you change your relationship status, married, single, new career directions, change of location where you live, if anything, things are up for negotiation, it's really because you're expanding your identity. You're expanding your sense of self. This is reflective of a growth edge that you're on because the North Node is expanding Taurus, expanding your sense of you. So you want to contextualize this the best you can as you growing into something new and more you, new and more you. That's the best way I can put it. I don't have to get comfortable on my chair here. I don't think that you're going to find this as a particularly necessarily difficult transformation, depending on how it felt for you in the past. You are lorded over by Venus, a greater benefic, and she has her joy, okay? Like J-O-Y, joy, 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 down in. You are Venus ruled, end of story, right? And she has a lot of agency in your chart over your house of good fortune and good spirit. She's the exaltation lord of your 11th house of karmic rewards and dividends, pennies from heaven, fairy godmothers, enchanted rainbows and unicorns. And so, having her dominion, her exaltation home up in Pisces 11th house for you, I think can be a kind of a vibe that, even though the North Node is expanding your Taurus identity, with Venus, especially in April next year, doing something special there for you, I think you're going to feel the expansion of home growth, change, moving where you live, new relationship statuses, reputation, higher career developments are all going to feel like maybe you're on a growth edge. You're going to have to stretch, right? Into something new, but you may not find it all that difficult to be stretched into something new. So I'm giving you the chance to look at this as an opportunity rather than, oh no, I have to change. Why do I say that? Because you guys are a fixed sign. You're Earth, number one, and then you're fixed, and that makes you very stable. And change is not your friend. You don't like change. You prefer lack of change. So given that, I'm telling you that rest easy. I think most of you Tauruses will enjoy the ride through this change. Okay, so like I know a widowed Taurus who just recently was a widower, and I think this is going to usher in a great new relationship for this lovely man I know. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the eclipses, because there's 4 next year through Scorpio Taurus. And there's one in November of 2021 that already happened by the time you're probably listening to this. But I want to talk a little bit about that eclipse story without going through all of the eclipses. I have a special eclipse reading. Check my description link box below if you're interested in 18 months of storytelling about your life based on eclipses. But because I'm not keen to actually go through every eclipse in this reading, that's a lot of work, and it's also not germane to a lot of people without seeing your chart. Let's focus on my favorite eclipse of 2022 for you Tauruses, okay? That's going to be the eclipse of April the 30th. It's glorious, it's beautiful, it's juicy, it's sweet, it's full of enchantment. Now, eclipses bring new beginnings. This is a solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus. This is going to be more important to you if your sun, moon, or rising sign, let's say, is anywhere between 5 and 15 degrees of Taurus, but all Taurians will feel it. And if you have a later degree, sun, moon, or rising sign, not to worry, there's a Taurus eclipse, 25 degrees of Taurus in the fall, so you're not left out entirely of the storyline of eclipse power in your Taurian home. Now, one of the cool things about North Node eclipses going through the identity house is that you're focused on you. I don't want to make you into a narcissist, because that's not what I mean. I mean that you are actually learning to focus on you. You are taking yourself seriously. You are orienting towards you are important as you grow into a new you. And so for some of you, this energy of your, growth edge of your importance really picks up when that eclipse happens, April 30th, add 6 months. Because eclipses can unfold that long, and they may start to ruffle this one into your storyline as early as the beginning of April. Now, it's coincident or coinciding with a beautiful, rare 150-year rare transit. I guess I'm going to tell you about it after all, since I'm tying it in with the eclipse, that Venus, the Lord of your chart, the Lord of your sign, is doing in a sign of her exaltation, which is the sign of Pisces, Jupiter's home, in your 11th house of good fortune, good luck, good spirit, which can bring good luck, pennies from heaven, karmic rewards, great financial gains all of a sudden. Pennies from heaven is kind of like a windfall vibe. And you're going to experience this exalted Venus traveling through in April, that house of everything I just mentioned. But on April 30th, the day of the eclipse, the solar eclipse at 10 Taurus, there's going to be a pileup in the last degrees of your 11th house. And that will be Venus joining with Jupiter at around 27, 28 degrees of Pisces, and Neptune right behind them around 25, holding hands. So that's a triple conjunction we haven't had since the 1850s, and you won't get it again in your lifetime. What does it do for you? What does it bring? It brings you the possibility of extraordinary enchantment, blessings, luck, rainbows, unicorns, and all of that in terms of potentially a money breakthrough, either from your career, from an inheritance, it could be from the sale of a possession, I don't know. And it also will bring you a sense of being filled with like gratitude for something like the fairy godmother of the universe giving you your truest dreams, your truest hopes, your truest wishes coming true. That eclipse is in a whole sign sextile or flow, the nature of Venus. The sextile is an angular degree 60. That's the nature of Venus herself. So there's a lot of enchantment that's spilling out of that eclipse on the 30th of April, 2022. Particularly for Venus ruled people, and particularly for you. And I would say to you that you can expect some financial gain that may feel absolutely incredible in terms of, you know, out of the box of what you would imagine you could have in life. Not sure where it's going to come from. Pennies from heaven always is about the mystery of windfalls and how lucky breaks happen. Now, it can be through inheritance, but I'm just telling you that it's still an enchanted lucky break. Can also come through many other means, even just a lottery ticket win. So don't try to worry about how money comes. It's just coming to you. April adds 6 months next year. Now, on top of all of that, the idea here is that with Jupiter, you know, he will be spending a lot of time in your 11th house next year, but that'll be in the longer reading, teaming up with Venus. Jupiter-Venus means big love. If you're a single Taurus and this eclipse kicks in your first house and will reverb to the descendant where your committed love mate storyline is, this could be a big love story that's blooming sometime around April to November of 2022. And if you are with somebody, this can also be a big love story, but not with that relationship. I'm going to give you a heads up, a bit of a challenge could happen in your existing love relationship. You come into this eclipse cycle already partnered and mated. You're going to experience an eclipse energy of the South Node going through the house of your primary love relationship, your committed partnership, and that can cause turbulence there. And the South Node can ask you to let go. Because if you're single and the South Node goes to your 7th house, it's new soulmate, ahoy, and bound soulmate ahead. But if you're already with somebody, and the South Node will be going through that 7th house for all of 2022 into mid 2023, you are going to find yourself having a hard time with that existing relationship. Now, this is more true for the Taurus risings than the sun and moon. I want to be clear, but there is this potential of a new relationship if you're single, flowing or leaking of energy out of an existing relationship if you're with someone. And for some of you who are with someone, maybe a big love story emerges that catalyzes a new love relationship. If a big love is coming for any of you single or mated already, this could also be coming from the various energies of friendship circles, trips and travel to foreign shores, educational settings, higher educational in particular. Those are the areas where Venus can deliver the goods for you during her big love conjunction with Jupiter. Now, you know, Venus and Jupiter can come together in the sky once a year, but Jupiter isn't in Pisces once a year. He has only been in Pisces. He will be in Pisces twice in 2022, the first 4.5 months and the last 2. And he was there a little bit in 21. So this is how rare this kind of big love, exalted Venus looking for her soulmate, her holy divine love, Jupiter, the big love guy anyway, the expander of all things. So you don't have this potential for the big love vibe coming from the house of karmic and cosmic rewards and hopes, dreams, and wishes more than once every 12 years. Okay, so we're looking at a nice, rare, exquisite sky for some of you singletons, for sure, Taurus rising especially, and sun and moon secondarily. Now, also, I want to point to the fact that the eclipse cycle and South Node transit through your 7th house, the one that's maybe letting go of relationships that aren't serving you. It can be long-term friendships, can be business partnerships, and can be primary love relationship. That cycle is also going to be playing out during the time of the next 1.5 years. So I'm going to tell you about one of those of all of the eclipses. As I said, I'm not doing the eclipse reading here, but I want you to be aware of that. I think I'm going to choose the eclipse. Let me just see which one I want to talk about for you guys that I think is, you know, most juicy. Let's call it that. I think I want to talk about the May 16th Scorpio eclipse at 25 degrees. It's a total lunar eclipse. Totality is power. And why I want to talk about the total lunar eclipse, particularly on May 16th at Scorpio 25, is it's going to activate or co-activate the degrees where that triple conjunction is happening at the end of April between Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune. And, you know, it's an inconjunct. So what it'll do is it'll kind of open up a gateway of revelation, okay, of something new, of a kind of feeling of something in the destiny story of the universe that you may have to hesitate or you can't complete when it comes to the energy of love. So if it's an existing love relationship, you may find that you already know this isn't the one for you, but you're not sure how to end it. If it's a new one, you know it's the one for you, but you're not sure how to start it. Now, the interesting thing is as well, if your rising sign, sun or moon is anywhere between 20 and 29 degrees of Scorpio, this particular total lunar eclipse is the most important of the eclipses in the Scorpio axis. This is the one that has the power to kibosh an existing relationship, but a lunar eclipse ends a relationship because often you have a revelation. You can see something about the relationship more clearly that you didn't see before. And it tells you a story about that connection, that maybe like this was a great relationship to grow myself up into new level of maturity, but it's not the one for me. Or, oh my God, I thought he was perfect, but he has, you know, an addiction problem. You know, you'll see something new, revealing something to you about that person or about your feelings for that person. And I got a strange light in here, guys. It's this lamp that my girlfriend has. So I look like I'm glowing pink. What if I turn it off? I'm recording in November. It's already dark. Yeah, I kind of like got a pink glow. It was kind of neat though. So also I would say to you that, you know, just since I'm on it with you guys, without doing the whole eclipse reading, I would mention this, you know, the October 25th, 2 degrees Scorpio eclipse. If you have your rising sign, let's say in the first 6 degrees of Scorpio, or your sun or moon, if you have your Taurus sun or moon or rising sign in the first 6 degrees of Taurus, this is very powerful for you. This is the one that could also potentially cause a relationship to end, but also bring in that new soulmate relationship. Okay, so those are your windows of, beginnings and endings next year in relationship. So when I talk about October 25th and I talk about a partial solar eclipse, I'm talking about take October 25th and add 6 months, you know? And then similarly, when I talk about May 16th, total lunar eclipse at 25 Scorpio in your 7th house of committed partnership, please add 6 months liberally for that to unfold its story in your chart. Now, I use that word a lot, now. Oh my goodness. Okay, yes, and next. That's probably the highlights of those eclipses for you without going into the eclipse reading. Let's move on to the next story. I want to talk about Mars. And I really am talking about Mars because, one, Mars is the lord of the South Node eclipse cycle. And so he's having a big change up in your destiny. And back in 2021, around the 3rd week of November, Mars became visible in the sky in certain parts of the world as he moved away from the sun. He was invisible August of 2021 through to the 3rd week of November in your 7th house of primary love relationships. So if you were single, it would have been really hard to get one started up then. If you're with somebody, it could have been a time in which things in the relationship were slowing down. There wasn't a lot of commitment, action, decision-making going on. You're kind of coasting with your partner. But now that Mars is going into the sky as visible at 15 Scorpio on around the 22nd or 3rd of November, he is rising in Scorpio. And he does that rising in Scorpio irregularly, I'd say on average every 24 years. That's on average. And because of that, he is initiating you into a new cycle in your 7th house. Now, if you are single and Mars is rising in the middle of your 7th house of partnerships, you are going to be in a significant and likely lasting relationship that will pick up sometime between all of 22 into the summer of 23, late summer, early fall of 23. Mars will go invisible again. So there's like a kind of like a 19-month window here for you or so. So I feel like you could possibly also, if you're with somebody already, have Mars rising in your 7th house, take that relationship to the next level. Some of you may go from being in, now I know it sounds like I'm contradicting the South Node transit through the 7th. There is that energy of having to release your attachment to your partner and surrender. And some of you Taurus folks may have a breakup, but then a renewal of the relationship from the time apart, for instance, in 2022. But certainly having Mars rise, there's a rising of energy in your house of primary love and business partnership. And I think that you might find that's a very exciting area of your chart over that time. It may even bring to you, you know, as I said, you're living together, now you're engaged, now you're married, a change of status around your current relationship. And of course, if you're single, this is another sign of a very significant new relationship coming into your chart in into your life in 2022. Now, you also have Mars in 2022, spending a forever dog's age in your 2nd house. That is the house of earnings. And that is dovetailing with what I told you is an uptick of enchantment around money, kicked off by the April 30th eclipse. And when you add that on August 20th, Mars enters your 2nd house of earnings, and he activates the 8th house of inheritance, spousal money, and he activates the 5th house of money, luck, and lottery wins and gaming and investment payoffs. And he activates the 11th house of lucky gains from pennies from heaven, right? He spends a lot of time angular to money houses, and 6 months is a lot of Mars energy. Mars doesn't do this 6-month journey because he retrogrades there in one sign like this for probably once every 30 years, honestly. So it's a colliding of money enchantment in your story for a lot of Taurians in 2022. You will find that with Mars in your 2nd house, when he's going direct, he has the most momentum, but he will be retrograding as well. And that retrograde time will start around October 30th to January 12th. So like, I'll give you some examples. If you came into some money through an inheritance, or your spouse got rich suddenly and gave you some money, or, you know, you won the lottery or something, during that window of retrogradation, October 30th to January 12th, you may be going over legal documents or agreements or back end things. I mean, things may slow down. There may be some sludge there. Okay, those sorts of elements. The 2nd house where Mars is going through, which is Gemini, is also the house of the voice, you know, speech. And Mars is the god of elimination. And so for some, and it's also, okay, let me go back to that. What we put in our mouth, the foods and drinks and things we eat and smoke and ingest, is our 2nd house. Mars is a god of elimination. He may be eliminating things from your diet, your food style, and your habits of ingestion. You may go on a massive overhaul of your food style sometime in those 6 months, because he's there until March of 2023. However, also, it is a house of voice, which ties into the word vocari, the calling or vocation, the Latin root word. And while he's there, that's why earnings come from that house, right? It's part of the identity of who we are, the 1st house, and the resources we bring through that identity, and therefore our calling or our vocation. And so because of that, there's a strong sense that you may be refining your vocational direction. And some of you Tauruses may be changing careers. I don't mean changing jobs. I mean changing paths. Like, if, you know, I've always, you know, thought I was going to be a fashion designer, Victorian profession, or a gardener, and I decided I'm going to be a blank, or I'm going to change my career and do this other thing. And if you do that, because Mars is giving you a huge amount of juice there, you will be taking very solid new action steps to affect that new direction and bring you more money from it as well. So Mars can make you spend more money than you usually do in the 2nd house. But if he brings you spending, it's spending in service of greater gains, all right, financially, in this transit. And I feel like you have to breathe through any sense of spending as well. But because of the enchantment of some money luck stories coming through in 2022, I'm not as worried. You may be spending freely, like, oh my God, I won the lottery. I'm going to buy this, that, and the other thing. As a Taurus, you'd be buying pleasure items, things that give you a sense of joy, pleasure, you know, that's sensually enjoyable for you. The plush furniture, you know, the new boat or something, if you like boats. So whatever it is, get an idea here that there's a money uptick here that's going to be dovetailing for you throughout 2022, with a change of relationship status for sure, whether you're single going to mated or mated going to single. All of this is really shifting for all of you Tauruses in 2022. So the primary stories are change in the love story and change in the money story. To put it in a nutshell, there's a lot more detail to talk about in your chart, to say the least. So if you really want to know about how all of the planets, including the outer planets and all of that are doing in your life in 22, please buy the All Signs bundle or your specific Taurus sign. Now, to finish up, everybody gets a card in this series from the Animal Spirit deck for free. And if you want to stick around and buy the second portion of this reading, which you'll get the whole reading as one big bundle, you'll see me redo this, and then I'll do this card secondly in the second half at the end of the second half of the session. So again, these are 60 to 90 minute readings. We're going to talk about this wild unknown animal spirit now. What is the animal spirit totem for you that's giving you the sort of allyship and support throughout 2022? I'm laughing because that's my own hair behind me. It's like I keep trying to move. I have a fur on my back. Okay. I might have to change this graphic. Okay, so here we go. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And I'm a fan girl. I fan the cards and then I pick a card. What is your animal ally for Taurus Sun, Moon, and Rising, supporting your journey of 2022? It is the horse. Oh, it's such a pretty card, isn't it? Look, there's like a crescent moon on the horse's head. So let's see what Kim Cran says about horse. I think horse is an earth sign, and you're a Taurus. Yes, I think it's an earth. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, guys? You got an earth animal giving you backup support. In 2022. Sorry, it's taking me a while. All right, here we go. Momentum, horses, momentum. Yes, you certainly have money and love, momentum, freedom, and expansive energy and force. The horse represents the most masterful form of earth energy within the deck. It provides us with momentum so reliable, so supportive that you can ride on its back toward any goal, no matter how difficult the terrain. The horse personality is fully awakened, fully alive, and cannot be defeated. I like that. The horse's freedom becomes available to you when you have, I'm saying that, it says we, but when you hone and collect your energy through daily practice, building physical stamina, such as exercise, mental focus, such as meditation, are the secret weapons behind horse's legacy. When you're in balance in 22, you achieve anything and you never give up. That's so true of you stubborn fixed sign Taurians anyway. When you're out of balance, you run away and you feel weak. And to bring yourself into balance, you are doing strength training. My daughter's a Taurus. She's a super strength trainer. And she, I remember when she was talk about never giving up, she got demoted from a level of soccer when she was young. And rather than give up and just stay at the demoted silver level, she applied for gold again after a year of silver and got back in. There's that oomph about not quitting and not giving up that a lot of Tauruses stubbornly do. And I love that about them. So guys, if you want the whole darn thing, the shebang of the outer planets and more details of Saturn and Jupiter and Mars and Venus, especially Venus, grab the link below. I promise you will love this content. I enjoy doing these videos and I hope you enjoy them too. All right, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check my description box for anything I'm doing, no matter when you're listening to this. And I will go ahead and start part 2.